we're going to discuss whether or not the new trilogy should be canned or not. Now, I have two that think it's okay. I got information. I knew ahead of time that it was iffy, a lot of reshoots, so that was kind of also a sign. And Last Jedi, when I remember when that movie came out, that I was ready. I was ready to watch it and get excited for it. And then I heard the rumors. So yeah, and the thing is, when it came to The Last Jedi, I was hearing just rumors even from my coworkers, like Kai. He was saying he had issues with it, with what's that girl's name? The one with the purple hair in the film.
Yeah, no one likes her. I don't even like her.
I heard that Rian Johnson just took it in a totally different direction from how J.J. Abrams started it. So I saw Force Awakens. I enjoyed it.
He gave it a 10 out of 10. Just to put that in perspective, he gave it a 10 out of 10, to quote him.
Yeah, at the time, yes. A 10 out of 10 because they brought it back. They brought Star Wars back. It was like at the time 10 years since Revenge of the Sith. So yeah, I was excited and I enjoyed it. I will say though, with Rey, I was picking up a little bit in that movie that she was able to. I mean, yeah, you could look at it. She's able to defend herself, but I feel like she was slightly a little perfect about it, especially.
Explain that.
That movie had a problem with the Mary Sue concept.
The
other two kind of fixed that.
There is actually a theory about that she got all of her information off Kylo Ren, and it just got downloaded into her brain.
Stupid.
I will admit that is stupid.
That's the thing. So, and I'll get to that in a sec. But when Rian Johnson took over, I don't know if this was just his thing because he mentioned before he likes to have a movie that makes people debate over it. This is what he said.
Did that.
Yeah, he did that. My God, did it go?
Oh yeah, 8's probably the most decisive movie in the franchise.
Yeah, it went places, and all the stuff I was hearing about is, what were you doing, Rian Johnson? You literally, I feel like the characters, like the original characters, were literally screwed in that film, especially with Luke. It's like,
yeah,
even Mark Hamill had an issue with it himself.
Yeah, he's a fine director. I mean, obviously he's done movies like Knives Out, which I think is a bit overrated, but I enjoyed it nonetheless. I think it was definitely his best work out of what I've seen from him.
He can do a good movie. It's just
he wanted to go for a different approach. I feel like he should have done like Solo or Rogue One, and that would have been better instead of doing one in the main timeline.
I wonder, if J.J. Abrams had stuck with the trilogy, I'm curious.
It probably would have turned out better.
Yeah, I feel like it would have been a lot better than what we ended up getting, but sadly, that wasn't the case. So he took it, he screwed it up, and then J.J. Abrams had to come back and try to fix everything. But by then, I've expressed that the damage was done. So when he tried to go back and fix it, I understand that he was trying to fix the issues from episode 8, but it was like a middle finger to episode 8. And when you try to connect everything, it just doesn't fit well.
How do you think? Give me 2 examples. Right off the top of your head now.
Okay, with the thing with Luke throwing his lightsaber. Okay, episode 9. He kind of tells Rey about not tossing it. It's like, you did that in episode 8. What are you talking about?
Hey, I got a little surprise for you. It's called character development.
Yeah, but
and the Luke that grabs the lightsaber is happy Luke. The Luke that throws the lightsaber is depressed Luke. They're almost
Matt has a point though.
Yeah,
but Luke is changed.
Yeah, more like silly Luke though.
Yeah.
It was
even Mark Hamill believed that this wasn't his Luke.
Well, this is my thing.
Well, yeah, because George Lucas did not write it.
I feel like with the Marvel movies, they can pull off the humor and Not
Yeah,
lighthearted,
they tried to
you
do
know,
that in
more of a
Star Wars,
comedic.
but it's not meant for that.
Yeah, it doesn't work well in Star Wars. Even though Star Wars is for, I mean, it's for younger kids and adults, but
It's an all
it's
audience
still,
thing.
yeah,
There's
like
really
the
nothing
lore,
that's aimed at kids. That's truly aimed
right,
at
right.
kids
But the
anymore.
lore of it is still serious, and I just feel
Yeah.
like, I don't know, it doesn't work well with Star Wars like it does with Marvel. And
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's a mistake. I think they were going for that. Oh, everybody loves Marvel, and it's got funny. You know, it didn't work for Star Wars.
But that's not why Marvel worked. But this is not what this is about.
The thing, yeah, the thing with Luke though, my issue. So yeah, like in A New Hope, he was a rookie. He wasn't aware of things as much as well, the time skip in Empire Strikes Back, but he still had to train to be a Jedi, and he failed, and he got all that knowledge through the span of maybe I don't know, several months within Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, and he became a figure that learned from experience. And he lost his way almost, but he stopped. And you know what scene I'm talking about.
Yeah, and Return of the Jedi.
But then to turn him into someone that just doesn't care anymore after he went through all that just, to me, that rubs me the wrong way.
Well, he was a broken man when we first see him in 8. Like, he was like, you know what? The Jedi are like, we don't need any more Jedi. This is stupid. And,
Yeah.
Rey kind of ignites that fire back in him.
Yes.
And that's why he goes. This even shows in episode 8 itself, where at the very end he goes to confront Kylo, despite it being a Force hologram. It's still him.
I feel like if J.J. Abrams was still doing it, if he was doing it, I feel like with what he built up in Force Awakens could have been written a lot better.
I guess they were going for, we don't want to redo the original trilogy step by step.
Yeah, that was its issue.
Yeah.
Is it tried to make a modern version of the original
Right,
trilogy.
so
It didn't try to be
Yeah.
its own thing.
Yeah, so it's like we have to make the characters different, but it just didn't work. I feel like they have
Right.
so much material in the Star Wars universe, they should have done something different.
They have, yeah.
Now, would you guys say that Rey was a ray of light to Luke? in episode
Oh
8?
my gosh.
I'm never gonna say that, probably.
Well, yeah, like that's the
what you're
thing.
here for.
And jump into Rise of Skywalker. I'm pretty sure most people have seen it. I will put a spoiler. Actually, yeah. Let me just mention.
And this dingus has actually not seen it.
The one thing that they did with the villain from Force Awakens and Last Jedi, like Ryan Johnson, like just real fast with him. The villain.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, but that paves the way for Kylo.
Actually, do we even know if he's really dead?
Yes.
But
No, I mean, like, if
Until episode
the
10.
Sith can skip
Till
or
episode
skip our
10.
bodies, is he even dead? Could he be in, like, a stormtrooper's body right now?
I doubt that, man. But
Plot twist: Han Solo's still alive.
yeah,
At least we got Puppet Yoda.
Puppet Yoda.
We got
Oh,
Puppet.
yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is, by that point, a lot of people kind of did not like what Ryan Johnson did with Last Jedi. So with Rise of Skywalker, it would wrap up everything, but my hype wasn't up there anymore with it. Most people weren't, and that one's also mixed. But with the Emperor, though, like what Corey was saying about the material that they could have used, like in the comics. So here's the one thing I do understand from.
Well, I mean, this is why The Mandalorian is so successful.
Yeah,
It's a popular. Well, not that he's Bubba or Django, but still a popular. I mean, I feel like people are into bounty hunters like that. So
yeah.
let's make a series on that. I feel like you could make a series on. I don't know, just about anything other than just the standard, little group going to go save something. And I don't know. I just feel like you could do something more.
Yeah, and
Or something
like,
different, at least.
I will say with the whole cloning in this one though, in the Rise of Skywalker, I will say there was a comic series that came out like in the early-ish 90s, mid 90s, that, yeah, it followed the Emperor. You know, he cloned himself. But the difference between that one and this one was that this was maybe like what, a year or so after Return of the Jedi, and it followed, you know, Han, Chewie, Princess Leia, Luke, you know,
They
all
probably
of them.
took inspiration from that.
Yeah, like probably the clone part.
Wait, you guys are talking about Dark Empire, right?
Yeah, that's the one.
It's 6 years after the original. When it takes place, I'm trying to look at when it was made.
It's just that with that one, we have the original crew, you know, from Return of the Jedi, and I felt like, why couldn't they just make that into something?
And I mean, here's
Instead
the
of-
other thing. The Star
Because
Wars
that wouldn't have been as original because they would just like it's just be an adaptation of a comic book.
Another thing that I feel like a lot of people don't realize the Star Wars universe is so big, but I don't think they also realize, like the common audience, how big the Marvel universe is, and when they can make a movie about Ant-Man and it be successful, then I think maybe we should pluck some of these really small type Star Wars universe characters and give them their own run. If it's successful with Marvel, I think they could do it with Star Wars instead of like, oh, let's say there's 18 Avengers movies. We don't want, 18 Avengers movies. Everybody else is getting their time to shine with the Marvel universe, but it's just the same thing with Star Wars when they could just do something else.
Yeah.
Which goes back to my original point, of course, but still.
Yeah, I mean, they had enough material to do something like, they could have.
Yeah, the universe is huge.
They could have made like what about like Shadow of the Empire?
Yeah, and it's like how many people, like normal everyday moviegoers, not the hardcore people, knew of the Guardians of the Galaxy before it came out to the big screen?
I did.
Same with Ultron, I would say. I didn't know a lot of people who knew Ultron. Like, despite it being the worst Avengers movie,
right?
I still enjoyed it, and I thought Ultron was portrayed pretty well.
Right, and now the common moviegoer, everybody knows Guardians. So can we do that with the Star Wars universe?
Same thing with Thanos. I don't think a lot of people knew of him either.
I did.
Well,
right,
yeah, like the common people.
Spider-Man and everything.
But do people know Miles Morales?
Yes.
Because now they do. Now they do with Into the Spider-Verse and the new Spider-Man game coming up.
So what I'm pushing for is, should Bosk get his own movie?
Wait, who?
The bounty hunter. Bosk.
Oh, you mean Boba Fett?
No.
I know who you're talking about.
Bosk is like
yeah.
Yeah, I was joking, sort of, but
Jabba the Hutt needs its own movie.
Give Jabba his own movie.
Why not Boba Fett? I mean, I heard they were
supposed to. If it's well directed, I think it'll do well. It doesn't matter who they put in.
Wait, Lumpy and Scratchy.
Yeah. Or just do a movie on pod racing.
Father and son.
No, I mean, I know a lot of people love pod racing, but I think that's just kind of.
I mean, they do have enough material. They could have used something. I don't know. Like in all honesty, what Disney could have done was could have taken all that material and maybe just made shows or something or spin-off movies instead of like continuing this trilogy. I feel like that would have worked a lot better in their favor.
Well, the trilogy had to end. You can't just say, "Oh no, they can't just make any more of it." It just ends at 7.
The trilogy officially ended after
the early days, the rising of the Emperor.
Yeah, why not do that? Like, I mean, officially,
fun fact, they are kind of doing. Well, not are doing that, but they're actually doing something like that. They're going like before Episode 1. They're making stuff like that. It's going to be called High Republic. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, there you go. Boom.
But
they know what they're doing. It's just the movies didn't have the best direction.
Yeah, they didn't. And so we jumped to Rise of Skywalker, and J.J. Abrams tried to fix it. But
the movie isn't that bad.
I mean, what I've been seeing, it's a mix. I guess you could say it's a mixed bag. Like the way the writing was, you jump from this, that.
Would you like me to bring up the Rotten Tomato score again?
Yeah, but remember how shady Rotten Tomato is. I can't.
Oh, okay. So his claim is that they paid the critics to give was it Last Jedi a good score, and
not just that. Captain Marvel. Disney itself.
No. Disney did not do that. Unless you have proof that they did do that, Disney did not do that.
Well, Sam, you gotta go on.
And then it contradicts itself because episode 9 has like a 52 or something.
Everybody can tell there's something shady about Rotten Tomatoes. On top of that, they remove any other reviews.
Where's your proof then? I would like proof. If you send me proof, I will watch it and I will decide if it's correct or not.
So yeah, Rise of Skywalker comes out. It tries to fix everything. It tries, wraps up everything. And then you find out stuff about Rey, yada, 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 with the Emperor, which, okay.
We can say spoilers. The movie's been out for months. If you haven't seen it,
Yeah.
it's on Disney+. If you haven't seen it by now, then that's your loss.
Yeah, it's everybody's warning.
Yeah, literally. And Arturo, I could just stream the movies for you if you want, for free. So, you're getting a free movie out of me just to watch these.
The one Star Wars movie I would like to rewatch is Rogue One.
Rogue One, I thought it was a bit overrated. Solo isn't terrible.
I don't know. Something about Rogue One I actually like.
I've only seen Rogue One once, so that's probably my issue. I've seen all the other movies at least twice.
Oh, okay. I've seen
the only one I haven't seen twice is Episode 9, but that's because it just became Disney Plus, and I'm watching other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But have you seen Holiday Special? It's canon.
Arturo, if you watch Episode 9, I will watch that.
I mean, I've seen that by what JonTron put up.
That's a job, but like I feel like it's a first-hand experience. Like Last of Us 2, you need to. It's like you want to experience it firsthand if you really want to experience how horrifying it is.
I mean, in all honesty, if I want to kick back and laugh, I would rather watch that than Rise of Skywalker.
I
mean, anything can be fun if you're with friends.
Yeah, and get a kick out of it.
Cats.
Oh my gosh!
Keep on telling me no.
So yeah, you find out Rey is related to the Emperor, and stuff about her dad being like a failed clone.
It's a non. I forgot what the term is. He's a clone, but he doesn't look like Palpatine.
Yeah.
They use, so that's why he's calling himself. His granddaughter is actually, it would be a son, not just a daughter, kind of like.
Yeah, I will admit, on 9 they don't explain everything that well, and that's something I do mark the movie down for.
I know.
Yeah, but I don't want to have to do external research just to know what's going on.
I know in the books they would explain certain scenes and details, but leave it out in the movie. I'm like, well,
I believe it is out, but I haven't seen anything on it.
I've seen a few readings of it. It's interesting.
Books kind of shine a new light on stuff that the movies really don't.
This is the more completed. What we got in theaters was like the theater version, but the book's the longer. There's like more detail on things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, usually books get more in depth about a scene playing out. But so yeah, Rey has her encounter with Kylo and the relationship between them.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that either.
And so she obviously,
if they took that kiss out, I'd be completely fine with that. It doesn't bother me that much, but if they took that out, I wouldn't care.
And I will say, obviously, Rey is the one that ends up defeating the Emperor for good. And she goes back to Tatooine and literally says that she's Rey Skywalker. And
I mean, she doesn't want to have that last name. It's basically he's basically Space Hitler.
Yeah, I mean, would you really want Rey Palpatine? People would kind of give you weird looks if you said your last name was
Palpatine. Because the Empire wasn't that long ago.
Yeah. Didn't they just change what Skywalker means in Star Wars? It's not just the last name, but it's a title of like a specific type of Jedi, and it may have been the first Jedi.
No, I see it more as like a symbol.
Yeah, it's something Disney's trying.
It's like symbolic, I would say. The last name is more symbolic than anything else, and that's what she's going for.
Now the question is, was that even George Lucas's way of expressing that name, or was it just more of the family?
I mean, at
No,
this point in the entire Star Wars continuum, it's more of a symbol, and that's either intentional or non-intentional. It became that.
I mean, I've always just seen Skywalker as just that family tree, and that was it. But
I mean, I wouldn't be entirely against that. Like how in Naruto, if you're the greatest in all the land, you're given the title Hokage.
yeah,
yeah.
basically how the new trilogy wraps up. And a lot of people, I will say that a lot of people were not happy with that ending, and some people were just okay with it, but more people just didn't like it. Let's see, I guess what the Doom part of this whole trilogy was that they didn't have an idea to start it off. They kind of just jumped on the wagon a bit and just took off with it, but they didn't have like an exact plan of the trilogy.
Yeah, I'm gonna steal something from Mark here that says you gotta write backwards so you don't write yourself into a corner, and that's what they did.
Yeah.
Even I can see that.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And George Lucas gave them like, his script of an idea, and the really annoying part is that they literally bought it off of him and then they threw it away. And
I mean,
they just went with their own thing. I'm like,
to be fair, it isn't his anymore. He may have created it, but he sold LucasArts. It's not his.
Yeah.
I mean, he maybe was like
do what they want with they can do what they want with Star Wars.
I mean, maybe he would have written it for them. They just, took it.
Maybe, but that's not what they wanted, so they didn't use it.
The two things I would highly blame for almost like this whole thing was obviously Kathleen Kennedy's at the top.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, then the writing was the next. So Kathleen Kennedy, she wanted to push her agenda all over the place with it. And then look what happened. We got The Last Jedi and then Rise of Skywalker.
I didn't see a lot of stuff like that. I don't look out for stuff like that, maybe. Like, I saw some in The Last of Us 2, but I didn't see a lot of it. I didn't see any of it in the Star Wars films. I may have seen one or two things, but it's
like, I know when you watch it the first time, probably not, but when you either watch it a second time or see how people analyze things, then you'll see like, oh, okay. So
maybe some people saw it that I didn't, but it's not something. If you push a political agenda, that's one thing. Like, if I don't see it, then I won't obviously I won't know it's there. But,
yeah,
I didn't see it on the Star Wars trilogy, so.
Well, that's the thing with this new trilogy. They didn't have the concept of what George Lucas had when he made his films. And I was actually having this conversation with my uncle. He's a writer. He was talking about Ghost of Tsushima, and then he was talking about Cyberpunk 2077. And he brought up this interview about this one guy talking to, I guess, like the director or something of the game, maybe the guy that wrote the story. And he was asking about whether or not if they're going to put any of the political stuff in there, because he wants, like, the interviewer or the guy that is interviewing the director, he's for that. But the guy was like, no, we're not going to put any of that political, pushing political stuff in people's face. We're going to tell a story. And I look at George Lucas and the guy that made Metal Gear, Kojima. They were always story comes first, and then message comes last. And I feel like that's a good mix, because you could push a message in your films, but it never feels like they're shoving it in your throat. It's always going to be story first.
Well,
so
yeah,
that's like the main thing. But see,
there's one work I know that does it pretty well, where it's a good healthy mix, and that's JoJo Part 5. It's not like a political message, but it's like about the theme is like resolve, and they push it. They don't, as Araki doesn't like push it on you like immediately, but he does push it, especially halfway through. He does push it, and it actually makes the story a lot better.
Yeah.
Also,
and
can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead, Matt. Sorry.
People keep on forgetting with the ones that want George Lucas back. Remember, he wrote episode 1.
That is true. Episode 1 and 2 are the worst too. But he did write episode 3, which is...
And he did mangle with episode 6, the whole Ewok thing, and what they originally wanted to do in the original vision.
I liked 6,
end,
but yeah.
It was going to be different. And he was the one that wanted to fiddle with that. So be careful about what you wish for.
Yeah, I have to agree with Matt that he isn't a perfect writer.
But here's how I can
And did you hear about his idea for episode 7?
He said he liked episode 7, if I remember.
Basically the same story that Abrams did. Wait, what?
Yeah, I heard that he liked episode 7.
Right, but he had another idea. It was a very similar story, but all the kids were going to be like 8 or 9 years old.
What the hell?
Oh, yeah, you told me about that.
Yeah, that was something I've heard online. Is apparently he wanted to do the same thing, but have younger children to market for kids.
Yeah, I don't think he's...
So, do you
I don't think he's as good as he used to, so, like... I wouldn't mind him being like a supervisor, but I don't think he should write the new ones if he or anything else.
You can question a writer for some of their choices, but here's what I could respect about George Lucas. If you look through most of his films, he's never really pushed an agenda. He's always told story first.
Well, that's what media is. That's not like the news or something.
Yeah, but see, like that's the thing. If you go back to Steven Spielberg and George Lucas, they were always telling a story. They weren't going to push any narrative in front of people. They were just going to tell a story. And, we just don't get that these days. And I feel like that's what happened with this new trilogy because of Kathleen Kennedy. She wanted to just take it and do whatever she wanted with it. It's like...
I'm just telling you guys to be careful for what you wish for.
I rather would have gotten what George Lucas had in mind than what we got.
I would have not. I kind of agree with Matt that I think what we got was fine. All right, to the question at hand: should it be canned or not? I don't think so. I think it's. You could say the Star Wars is tainted. Any series has this. It's nothing new. All right. Before this, we had 1 and 2, and the holiday special because. I hate to admit it, but it is canon. Matt is right that it is canon.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Every series has this. Dark Souls has Dark Souls 2: Scholar of the First Sin. Legend of Zelda has Link's Adventure.
Oh, and don't forget the CDI game.
Those aren't canon. I'm not. No.
I count those as canon.
This is not the argument for that, Matt. I will argue with you later. Mario has Sunshine, I guess you could say, of the Lost Levels. I enjoy Sunshine, but I know a lot of people don't.
Hotel Mario.
Not canon. But whatever. You are correct, though. Fallout has Fallout 76. Last of Us has Last of Us Part 2.
Fallout Brotherhood.
I don't know what that is.
Brotherhood Steel, PlayStation 2, Overhead View.
Oh god, no, I don't want to mess with that. I don't want to touch that.
I have it. Want to borrow them.
Oh jeez. Dark Souls itself, the second half of it is complete garbage compared to the first. It's like every series has these things that are just not as good as the others that just don't stack up. And like if you were going to compare Dark Souls 2: Scholar of the First Sin to Dark Souls 3 or even Dark Souls 2 the base game, it would become considerably lower on the list. Because those other ones are actually really good. But Dark Souls 2 just Scholar of the First Sin, like it may have I've played some of it, but the enemy placement isn't that good. It's kind of like just more throw a bunch of shit in and it's hard. That's not what Dark Souls is about. I'll go into this probably another time if I review Dark Souls 2, but stuff like that. This is what Star Wars has gotten into. Again, you could say 1 and 2 did it, but like 3 kind of redeemed them because 3 is great. It's just tainted. Saying Star Wars is ruined or this should be canned and not canon is stupid because what people should do is just live with it and be done. I live with Dark Souls 2 Scholar of the First Sin existing every day You know what I do? I don't care about it. I just don't care that it's canon. I'm just like, it exists. Who cares?
Well, look what happened to Game of Thrones. When it
I haven't actually seen Game of Thrones.
That is completely different. That was the writers.
The writing was bad.
I haven't seen Game of Thrones, but I know
Novels,
the novels are good.
again.
I heard the novels are still really good. And actually, they're making Elden Ring.
Wings of Winter hasn't come out yet.
Elden Ring is being made right now, which is Miyazaki and who wrote Game of Thrones?
George R. Martin.
Yeah.
Those two are working together on Elden Ring.
But if you saw how many people petitioned for season 8 to be redone because the writing was so terrible, I mean, that kind of shows that.
Well, you just gotta deal with it, you know. A lot of people do this with Korra. Korra isn't as good as Last Airbender, and even I can admit that. However, I really enjoy Korra, and I think it still should be canon and remain canon. But I've heard people say it should be canon just because it isn't that good. I'm like,
I'm just. Korra's good. It got an unfair run on TV.
Yeah,
I would probably prefer that than what we got with Star Wars.
I mean, yeah, Korra is better than what we got, but Korra. People say it's still not canon. I don't understand why. That's like saying Zelda 2 is not canon. Even though it's just not as good as the others. It is canon.
It is canon. It's as canon as the CDI games.
That's not true. We can argue about this another time. But
well, see, yeah, now when it comes to my opinion, like, I just don't like where the direction went with it. I felt like they kind of ruined some of the characters. And just the plot didn't match up after episode 9.
Last of Us did it worse, to be honest.
Well, but didn't also like help build up characters as well? Like Leia's pretty tough in each of the movies.
She
was already tough in the.
She's like that old lady you don't want to mess with tough now.
He's got a point.
Yeah.
We saw her as tough.
They toned Rose down from 8 to 9.
Okay, well, she has like 2 lines in the entire movie, which I've heard. I have heard something I do agree with, that they should have made her a likable character instead of just cutting her out of the movie. But that's what they did with Captain Marvel, so I'm not complaining.
Well, one thing I heard is like with the original script for 8, there was going to be a spy on the ship. And the theory was that the character that Rose was originally going to be that spy.
I guess they needed that character.
There was like some script ideas that I heard on YouTube, like right before 8 came out, with like Cantabite and stuff. Like how there was going to be like a blockade. Like it was going to be different. It wasn't going to have the ship chase thing. It was going to have like a blockade, and they were going to get through the blockade, and then they were going to find out that she was a spy.
Yeah, I mean that would have been interesting, but
yeah, I'm just bringing that up there. That, you know, 9 has some really good points.
Yeah,
and
it shouldn't be canned because they're actually, for one, it can't be unless Disney outright says it is not canon.
I mean, I heard they're kind of erasing it a little bit.
How?
Well, obviously, I heard there's rumors.
Okay.
Well, this is rumors. I will say people have indicated that it is rumors. But I heard they're bringing George Lucas back. And what's that director from? He directed the first Iron Man. Apparently, they are kind of.
Iron Man isn't too great. I mean, it's fine,
but I heard like they're wanting them to kind of take over, and they're kind of undoing what Kathleen Kennedy did. So technically, Disney knows that this trilogy just didn't work, and the money is showing.
They poured so much money into this that I doubt they're just gonna say it's not canon.
I'll tell you this:
they can build around it. They can build around it. They can continue it and like.
I mean, if people don't like it, then why continue making stuff about it?
People didn't like Dark Souls 2. You know what they did in Dark Souls 3? They didn't just make it non-canon. No, they built around it and actually had Dark Souls 2 characters with Dark Souls 2 lore. Dark Souls 2 was part of the franchise.
But was the story good?
Yes, the story
Okay,
was
then it's probably better than what we got.
people
with
didn't
Star Wars.
like it.
What?
But your argument is people didn't like it, so therefore it shouldn't be canon. That's not
Was
how
it
that
the
works.
gameplay that they didn't like?
Sort of. The gameplay, it wasn't directed by Miyazaki, so the gameplay wasn't as good as the first. But they didn't make it non-canon. They just worked around it. They stuck to their guns. If you
Look at all
if you
the
listen
Halloween.
to people saying
Look at all the Halloween movies.
canon,
Are we going to consider all of them canon, or are we just going to consider the first in 2018?
what?
It's
What do you-
that's a
Halloween.
split. That's a split timeline.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that's
So
the
they're
thing.
all
You
canon.
can-
I've seen only the first one, but these remakes, like they're just a different timeline. It's completely
yeah,
different.
but they made it those others not canon. So all that money, for those
I mean, they
films?
said it's not
No,
canon.
it's a multiverse. It becomes a multiverse at that point.
you could
I mean,
consider it a multiverse, but when they made 2018, they were going to say the rest just do not count. So literally mean they did not make it canon.
I mean, that's their choice. That is
Yeah,
their
so
choice.
that's how I feel about this. If
Unless
people
it's
like
Disney,
the other
outright-
Halloween,
unless Disney outright says that it is not canon, or that it is not canon. Like, even if we get like explicit stuff from Disney themselves, just consider them canon from here on out.
they'll never be canon to me.
Just
That's
really,
just how I feel.
You can't just remove. I mean,
mean,
Star
there's-
Trek, the new Star Trek series. Picard was okay. It had its problems, but they're not going to remove it from the timeline. Same with Discovery. Discovery had a lot of issues. They're not going to remove it.
I
same
think
with like Watch Dogs 1. Watch Dogs 1 wasn't considered as good as the second one. Watch Dogs 2 is really good, but you know there are stuff to Watch Dogs 1 in Watch Dogs 2, so they didn't just say it's not canon. They just
I mean, if
worked
they
around it.
really were to make them not canon, it would have to be the money that's being made. And this new trilogy is not making a lot of money.
It sold over $1 billion. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean that's.
But
that's
as customers, are they really? Most of them aren't really going to buy them. At least from what I've heard from sources, they're not really buying. I know when Last
They
Jedi
made $1 billion. You really think they're just gonna say, "Oh yeah, it's not canon. We only made $1 billion."
I sold Rise of Skywalker.
I mean, it's
4
gonna,
times.
yeah, when the movie came out, it's gonna do well. But as for selling the DVDs,
I have a
Probably not.
collector's edition of Rise of Skywalker.
I know
Listen,
because you buy everything, Matt.
Oh, look at this! Last Jedi is actually the 14th highest, the 14th highest grossing movie of all time.
I already knew it would do well, but as a whole, for people and fans of the series, like I said, DVD wise, it's not going to sell well. So I guess is that a wrap?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
All right. Well, every viewers, if you're watching this, it's up to your interpretation. Do you hate the new trilogy or do you not like the new trilogy? Do you think it should be canned or not? My
And do you
opinion,
think
I'd rather.
And do you
I'd
think
rather be
Arturo
canned.
should watch episode 8 and 9? Please say yes in the comments.
Sam
Oh,
and
that
Matt.
could be your 1,000 subscriber thing. You get 1,000 subscribers, and you have to watch 8 and 9, 7, 8, and 9 as a marathon.
Ooh, yeah, and I set a goal for that.
I mean,
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure
that's-
people that either come to my videos, they would probably know that I don't like the trilogy because I've
But-
already expressed it. I don't.
So I've seen a lot of other people, you know, say like, "Oh, if we hit this amount of likes," like I know Quite. I remember watching one of his videos. It's like, if we hit this amount of likes, I will do another TikTok cringe video or whatever. You know, and you know, he hit that amount of likes. You know what he did? He did it because he set that like goal.
Yeah. Yeah, you could set that goal for yourself, and then if you get like 1,500 subscribers, you watch Cats. 2,000 subscribers, you watch Holmes and Watson.
Oh my gosh.
How
How about this? Make it a million.
3,000
Million what,
subscribers.
dollar?
You watch,
A million subscribers.
you watch 3,000. You watch the Human
Million.
Centipede.
A million.
you
Mm,
know
that's
what
a
the Human
bit. That's a
Centipede is?
bit over. That's a bit. But if it does happen, you got to keep your word.
Yeah.
I will hold you to that.
I mean, did he also
So a
make those
million
other
subscribers, I need to watch.
I think that's a bit. I think that's a bit excessive, but sure.
videos? Okay, 1,000 for Human Centipede.
Oh geez, no, that is not a good deal. I wouldn't even agree to that.
I hope you enjoyed this discussion about if the new Star Wars trilogy should be canned.